welcome back to the Not Only Carrots cooking show. I'm Leah and today I'll be cooking the lemony potatoes, which goes with our lima bean Mediterranean recipe, which will be our bonus recipe next week. Make sure you subscribe, click the bell so you're notified when that arrives, and let's get started. Okay guys, to begin with, I'm going to walk you through all of the ingredients and bits and pieces that you're going to need. That way you can get yours ready if you want to cook alongside me. To start off with, you're going to want to have prepared potatoes. So there were 6 medium potatoes today, roughly 2.5 pounds if you're in the States or Canada, just over a kilo for those of us in Australia and the UK. You'll also need a fairly large baking dish along with some alfoil or aluminum foil if you're in the States. You want a couple of different spoons, this one for scooping and pouring and this one for stirring. You'll need 1 cup of veggie stock or veggie broth, plus 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of dried oregano or oregano if you're in the States. You'll need to add also 1/3 of a cup of olive oil. I'm using extra virgin olive oil today. I love extra virgin olive oil. Plus 1/2 cup of fresh lemon juice or store-bought if you can't grab your fresh, a teaspoon of tomato paste, plus 6 teaspoons of minced garlic or 6 cloves of garlic crushed if you've got access to fresh garlic. Okay, you'll be wondering why I have my potatoes in a bowl of water, or perhaps you're not. But I do that because I like to pre-prepare my potatoes when I have time. Being a busy mum, I don't always have time to do it on the spot. So I chose to peel mine today. You can scrub them and leave the skin on if you prefer. And then I've chopped them into wedges and I put them into the water and put them back into the fridge to avoid them going brown and oxidizing. And yeah, so that's how I do that. If you forget and they happen to go a little pink or a little bit brown, if you put water over them again and just shuffle them around with your hands, you can actually rub a lot of that brownness off there anyway, and then just rinse the water before you cook them. But yeah, chuck them in the fridge in a bit of water and it saves a lot of hassle. I'm now going to rinse my potatoes and yeah, we'll throw it all together. Also, make sure you've preheated your oven to roughly 200 degrees Celsius, which is 375 Fahrenheit. All right, let's get these babies rinsed off. Not really rinsed, just drained. Doesn't matter. Okay, now pretty much chuck it all in, stir it around, and we'll get it into the oven. So your veggie stock was the 1 cup. I actually like to add a teaspoon of veggie stock into my 1 cup of water. Generally now they're concentrates, so you don't have to be too concerned. You can even just do 1/2 teaspoon, but I find it's a fuller flavor when you do the whole teaspoon. So that's what I do. The oregano or oregano and salt now. We stir it together all at the end. So the olive oil. If you freak out and go, wow, that's a lot of olive oil, you can cut it down. The flavor doesn't change too much, but we do prefer the 1/3 of a cup. Lemon juice. Let's get some tomato paste in here. Oh, a special tomato paste tip. Tomato paste tip. What you can do is, if you buy a large jar like I like to, tip it upside down, shake it down, pat its butt, and get all of the tomato paste onto the lid like this, so that the air, or what doesn't have tomato paste, is just left along the top or the bottom because it's upside down. So when you take it off, your tomato paste will be nice and fresh. So just keep that in mind. My dad taught me that trick a long time ago. It's pretty handy. One downside with it is when you take that lid off now, it sometimes wants to pop out at you. So be careful of the popping tomato paste, but great tip. I love it. It saves me a lot of waste. So all good. All right, moving along. Garlic. 6 teaspoons of minced garlic. I didn't want to lose count. That's why I wasn't talking. Don't freak out. Garlic is so nice, and in this recipe, it is not overpoweringly garlicky. So yeah, don't skimp on the garlic. Please don't skimp on the garlic. It's so good. I think I've added everything. All right, wooden spoon. We're just going to stir these ingredients around. You can actually stir this around in your dish. The other thing you can do, which actually is kind of a little bit easier than this, is actually put all of these ingredients into a leftover jar. Like, hang on, I'll see if I've got one down here. Oh, I do. So just an old jar, and if you tip all of those ingredients into here, put the lid on, shake it around, and then you just pour it straight over your potatoes. So it's another easy little trick of the trade. All right, pretty much that's it. So everything's stirred around in there now, and I'm just going to pop that into my baking dish. Okay. Now, the reason you'll need a second spoon is you want to make sure as it's baking in the oven that from time to time you open up the oven, scoop out some of this broth mixture and gently pour it over the top again over your potatoes. You want to keep them moist during the whole process because they're sitting in the moisture, but the tops naturally will start to dry out a little bit. So you want to keep coating them. I do that maybe 2-3 times throughout the process, so it's not continuous. Don't have to be OCD about it or anything, but it's, yes, that's why you need a spoon with a bit of a scoop in it. Okay, grab your alfoil or your aluminum foil if you're in the States. We're going to cover, I put a hole in it. We'll try again. All right, you don't want a hole in it. Okay, here we go. Cover your dish. Okay, this aluminium foil is now going to act like a lid on a saucepan, and in the oven it is going to start to boil that mixture. I don't know what we're going to call it, the broth mixture. And this mixture is then going to steam the potatoes, and after half an hour we will remove the alfoil and keep it cooking for up to another 20 minutes or so until the tops are nice and brown. Don't be tempted to remove it early. It pretty much is, this is what allows those potatoes to soak in, particularly that lemon flavor. These potatoes seriously are amazing, and I have stuck with this process every time I've made them, and they are delicious. So don't change anything, please. It is so, so good. So I'm gonna pop these in the oven now, as I mentioned earlier, about 200 degrees Celsius, 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Leave them in there for about 30-35 minutes. Remove the alfoil, and then another 30 minutes until they're crispy and golden brown on top. Righto. Our first half hour of cooking is up. So using your oven mitts, you need to remove your baking dish. Put it carefully onto a bench on a breadboard or onto your stove. Keep the oven mitts on while you remove the alfoil. Remember, the alfoil will be the same temperature as your oven. So I'm being Captain Obvious, but I've not thought about it before. Hurt myself. All right, then using a spoon, you need to scoop your mixture over the top of your potatoes. Like this, make sure it's covered. And we are going to pop them back in the oven now for roughly another 20 or so minutes. You can do it a little bit longer if you prefer them crispier, less if you prefer them not so crispy. But as they cook now, we will need to open the oven roughly every 5 minutes and get another scoop and put it over the top just to make sure they stay moist and the flavor goes all throughout your potatoes. And make sure you put your timer on. All right guys, my timer has gone off. My potatoes are ready. Let's bring them out and I'll show you what the final product looks like. Make sure you turn your oven off as well. Oh yes, so good. These are our lemony potatoes. So there you go. There's still a little bit of juice down the bottom, the broth mixture. So I actually like to sometimes cook it for even longer, just to evaporate all of that off, but you don't actually have to. The potatoes at this stage are beautiful. Now, if your oven is not fan forced, you'll need to increase your temperature from 200 degrees Celsius up to about 220. So these are our lemony potatoes. I hope that you enjoy this recipe. Make sure you check out our bonus episode next week where we will show you the lima bean Mediterranean that goes right alongside these lemony potatoes. They taste amazing together. So make sure, guys, you tune in next week. Subscribe if you haven't already, as I mentioned earlier. Click the bell, leave a comment, and share the video with your friends. All right, thanks for watching once again, and we will see you then. Bye.